Hey, buddy. What you doing? Hmm? So, I think it's November 2nd, and, little frustrated here. This is the second pond, the one that the guy did without me here. And, so this is the lower berm here, and this needs to be the thickest, most well-built part of the entire berm, and it is the skinniest, shortest part of the berm. As you can see, the berm is taller everywhere else, but right here, it's even taller over right there. And I'm freaking the fuck out right now, because as we can see, it's already leaking. I wasn't here when this was done, and needless to say, he didn't go down below the soil layer a foot to the clay, and then pack it from the top up with clay. The outside is all clay, and it looks like the inside is clay, but there's obviously a problem because we have a pond leak right here. That water is coming through this berm. This unbelievably narrow berm that probably isn't even 2 feet. And I'm losing my shit because I don't even think we can get a excavator back up in here at this point. Can get it to about there. It's not going to do anything right here from over there because the arm isn't fucking long enough. So this sucks. Trying to fix this with a shovel has been a nightmare, and that's eroding and crumbling into the pond if it goes any higher too. And it's gonna spill right into the driveway. There's plenty of clay over up there. As we can see, this pond could be at least 4 or 5 feet deeper if there was more material to do the berms over on this side, and there isn't. There's less than a foot before this water goes over this berm. And as we can see, already leaking. Somewhere down in here, the water is finding its way below the clay and through. You can see some, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's some roots sticking out right here. And anything that those roots were growing in is just dirt. So clay has to be packed in under there, or the whole thing is just going to seep out. And it's already seeping out at the worst spot, the spot that we want to not have it seep out, right here. It will eventually blow this entire berm apart, and I'll be stuck rebuilding it. And, yeah, this is extremely narrow. If I had the option to do so, I would get in here with a tractor with a backhoe, which I don't have yet, which is, you know, gonna give me another fucking ulcer soon. And I would make this berm twice as thick. It would be at least 4 feet across this way. And I would raise it another 2 feet minimum. I've carved out a spillway back over here. But that spillway is still probably higher in places than this pond berm. I would say to reach the spillway and breach it, we're going to have to go up another foot, maybe. I mean, I dug it out, but it's still high over here. And, yeah, the back of this pond is just going to look like that, which is really crappy. And, I mean, this could be as deep as that backside if the front of the berm were higher. And it's a week after this was done, it's fucking leaking right here. It's all coming out right here, and that's eventually going to blow a huge hole through this, and the whole berm is going to fail. And it's going to go rushing down into here, which is what we don't want. I mean, I'm panicking right now. Look at the water coming out of here. It's making a hole right through here. Like, if I start digging right here, water's just going to gush the fuck out. This whole thing will empty right here. This was not filled in below ground level. Look at how wet this is right here. This is all water coming through from the pond, and it's going to keep doing it. It's going to continue to do this, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. This whole entire berm has to be redone right here. This is all going to have to be taken apart. All of the water is going to have to be emptied out, and it's going to have to be redone with clay. Probably by me, by hand, in fucking November right now. It's 40-something degrees out, my hands are freezing, and I'm very unamused. This is becoming soup. And it's becoming soup because it's leaking out of the pond. And that isn't even the biggest problem I have to show you guys today, so stay tuned for more fucking issues. In fact, let's walk over and show you another issue. It's not the biggest issue, but it's one of them. There's still more issues. There's volumes of issues here. We got encyclopedias full of problems with this old pond berm build here. As you can see, the entire backside of this is stupid steep. Which it can't be, because that's the opposite of a stable pond berm. That's a little bit better right there, other than, you know, roots sticking out of it, and the fact that this is obviously dirt and not much of a clay mix. Our next clusterfuck is down that way, but I'll explain more on that later. Let's stick to one issue at a time. As you can see, that's like a sheer, just a sheer angle. It's just straight. I mean, there's no slope to it. It's, if you tried to ski down that, you'd probably die if that were a mountain. So here we've got sort of a slope that I can deal with, and then it starts getting absolutely ridiculous right here. This is like a sheer, there's no angle, there's no slope, it's just a sheer drop, and all of the material is just dropping into the pond, and will continue dropping into the pond, and that problem over there that I tried fixing with a shovel has only gotten worse. Since I tried fixing it with a shovel, it just continues to cave in behind those rocks he put there, so that's a never-ending nightmare. And I don't have any way to move that clay on the top over where I need it, except for a shovel. Again, no tractor with a backhoe to fix any of this, and I feel kind of hopeless and powerless right now, because I have chronic back pain issues, and a shovel to fix all of this with, which is making me extremely unhappy. Yeah, none of this is packed, and it's very steep. So unless I get in here and manually try to fix this with a shovel, the way this is sloped, see how thick this berm is? If I measure that, it's probably 6 feet across. That will hold water. This right at the top here is maybe 1.5 feet across that I can walk on right here. And that's not going to hold water. It needs to be way thicker. And it needs to be sloped properly, or this is just going to crumble into the water. I mean, it's all... So, on to what is probably the worst clusterfuck. There are springs coming out where we want the driveway here. Suggestions on how to deal with that would be helpful. Starts getting muddy right here. And right about here, there's water coming out on both sides. I'm digging a ditch along this side of the driveway. It is November 3rd, and I'm filming here and not on the back 40 because it's not even 8 a.m. yet, and my excavator operator quit last night, so things are going so smoothly with that. And I think I already saw him go by this morning with somebody else to take the excavator back. So the driveway isn't finished, the ponds aren't finished, and one of them's already leaking. And I really wish my GoPro battery hadn't died yesterday. The cold weather is starting to sap 50% of the battery before I even get onto the back of my land, even though I'm keeping it in a pocket under my jacket. And the ground is going to freeze soon, and both of those ponds are going to need to be redone because, yeah, again, the one he dug without me there, that I'm still pissed about, is leaking already. And so the argument that caused the complete tantrum, I guess, mantrum, from the excavator operator was over the driveway. There was a wet spot, and he pushed a whole bunch of dirt from the top of the driveway down over it, and it was not looking so wet, but he insisted on digging a hole in the middle of the driveway yesterday, and I jumped down in it 4 feet. And it was dry, so I wanted to immediately backfill it before it started filling with water, because there's a lot of water uphill of the driveway, and water always finds the lowest area and lowest spot very quickly, especially on my land. We checked both sides of the driveway, and like a big giant trench, and there was no water coming out. And he, instead of backfilling it, kept digging until water did find its way in there, causing a fucking expensive catastrophe, potentially. And then instead of backfilling the hole, he went on lunch break, and I spent the next hour with a shovel out there, pissed off, with my hands and toes freezing, trying in vain to backfill the hole with a shovel so the water would stop pouring in. And then he came back, and I wasn't there. I had to come back here and eat something and warm up. And yeah, he had started digging a second hole in the driveway. So instead of working it out like adults, he, when I don't agree with him, he starts insulting me and saying all sorts of unprofessional shit and, pulling out any bit of information he has that he can use to upset me, that he knows about me. And it's like, really, dude? So he started talking about court and threatening to badmouth me on social media on his company's webpage, and saying how difficult I am of a client to work with, and no one around here will ever finish the project because of what he's going to say on Facebook or whatever the fuck. And so that's mature. It's really mature. So yeah. And he said if I fill this hole back in, I'm quitting, and I'm taking the excavator tomorrow morning. So I told him to fill in the fucking hole and went home, because it was like 5-something at night and I was freezing, and I'd been out there since 10 a.m. working with a shovel, which is, I can't explain how frustrating it is right now to not have a tractor with a backhoe. And yeah, so he's over there taking the excavator back and rage quitting, and there's other problems that I don't want to get into too that are more personal, but yeah, this fucking sucks, and I'm so sick of dealing with dudes. I can't even explain how sick I am of dealing with dudes who don't want to listen.